to a point, you've got to admit, this is ideal, keeping them all separately, yeah? Not always possible. We can even have that permit to work. We can still get fires. Not only because we've got people around the site. And again, they're idiots. So, because they burn differently, we can have certain measures in place. We might have different fire extinguishers in place. Okay? Why? Because depending on where they burn, i.e. depending what fuel's there, some fire extinguishers were developed to work better on certain types of fuel that they're burning. Okay? And they work in different ways. Okay? So if we actually get a fire, as in so now we will get a fire when they're all together. We get the chemical reaction which gives us fire. Okay. Depending what it is, we will use a particular fire extinguisher on the source or the class of fire. Now to put a fire out, all we need to do is remove one side of the triangle. Okay. You only need to take one side away. If I take that side away, it breaks that and that. And therefore you haven't got the three sides meeting, the fire goes out. If you take the fuel away, well, if we didn't eat at lunch, what do we say? We don't eat all day long, at the end of it we say, starve. You take the heat away from anything, remove the heat out of anything, cools down. You cool a fire. Take the oxygen away. Okay, so yeah, so if you take someone's oxygen away, yeah, put a pillar over their head, yeah, they die, that fire dies, suffocate, asphyxiate. It's a bit too violent, that, so what we say is smother.
Smother with
So, don't try this when you get home, put a pillar over your other half and go, that's suffocated, man.
Smother with
I'm sure they won't do that fire to that in the house.
That's my defence, Your Honour. Okay. So, these extinguishers used by either cooling the fire, starving it, or smother. Some of them can work in doing one or two things. Some of them can cool and smother. For example, CO2 extinguisher. Right. So look at the way it looks like. So we know the conditions for our fire starts. Management of fire risks. Well, if it's management of fire risks, that means there must be some fire risks there that we've got to manage. How do we know the risks are there? We've carried out a fire risk assessment. Okay. If you flick over the page, it tells you the 5 steps to a fire risk assessment. But you already know this because it's the same as the 5 steps to any risk assessment. Okay. Talks about fire prevention. Well, best form of fire prevention, well, don't have anything hot, don't have any fuels, don't have any oxygen. But you can guarantee that nothing's gonna, the three aren't gonna meet and you're gonna get a fire. If you look at preventative measures, carrying out a fire risk assessment for the whole site, paying particular attention to areas where there's significant or increased risks of fire, implementing control measures to eliminate the risk of fire or reduce it, wherever possible using alternative non-flammable or less flammable materials. This could be done at the planning stage when these designers are looking at how they're going to build. Storing highly flammable and flammable materials and substances in compounds as required by Fire Safety Order CDM. Keeping flammable materials away from sources of heat. Keeping that triangle incomplete. But you can follow it on. It's pretty straightforward. Hot work permits, again, we know what a permit to work system is. You can put them in place. Flick over. It talks about a site fire safety plan. Where do we get this from? Well, if a manager has gone around doing a fire risk assessment, or they've employed someone to come in and do a fire risk assessment, then from that fire risk assessment, you identify areas where the hazards are. You put control measures in place. Some of the control measures could be storing it differently, using less flammable materials. If you can't do that, you've got areas where there's going to be a fire. You're looking at Or we might have controls, as in firefighting controls. There might be extinguishers. Okay? If there's possible fires, we might also think about creating escape routes. The escape routes will always lead out to an assembly point where people meet up. We might have alarms put around the site where we can raise the alarm if we see a fire. Okay. We might tell everybody else about what to do should someone raise the alarm. So if you hear the alarm, you know what to do and where to go. Okay. Where do they get all this information?
Site induction.
Site induction. Because this has all been pre-planned before the site's up and running. Okay. Obviously it can change. Because if things change around the site, you might have to change your emergency escape route. You might start using different materials at different parts of the project. There might be increased fire risk, therefore you need more controls in place. Apart from that, we'll flick over to page 219 and you can see the different fire extinguishers. Right, so you can see them all there. The common colour is red with these extinguishers. Whatever the colour is on the band or the banner they call it, the label at the top, that tells you what type of extinguisher it is, or what's the substance used inside that extinguisher, that cylinder. Red, water, cream, foam, blue is powder, carbon dioxide is black. Not too much about the wet chemical, it's how they're used. Normally used in the kitchens. Commonly they might ask you about how do these extinguishers work. Well, if you're pouring water onto something, what does water do?
Take away the oxygen.
Not stop fuel.
Cooling.
Cools. Pour water on something, it cools it. Okay. What about foam? Has anyone seen a foam extinguisher, how it works?
Yeah.
Okay, they use it at airports a lot, foam extinguishers on the trucks. What you do is you spray foam around the outside. It's great on liquid fires. You spray foam around the outside so it's not going to spread. And then anyone used expanded foam? It's just like that. You spray it on the floor and it just kind of goes and forms like a barrier. And then you spray over the top. And then it goes hard. Alright? So it just solidifies. So it creates like, I'll tell you what, does anyone remember back at school, a long time ago for me, that you used to light a candle? Okay? And then what you do with the candle, you get an empty glass, turn it upside down. Does anybody do it? Yeah. Right. What happens to the flame? It goes out after a short time because you've now trapped oxygen in under the glass and that's burnt. Once that's burnt, you've removed the oxygen, yeah, you've smothered that fire. That is a bit like the foam that's gone around and then over the top. Okay? What it's doing is smothering it. Okay? It's stopping the air getting to it. So it's a bit like putting a glass over it. Spray around and over the top, and as it solidifies, it then creates like a permanent barrier over the top of that flame. Okay? So it smothers it. Apart from that, what you need to make sure as a supervisor is that the people have done the induction, and from the induction they will have learned all about the emergency procedures in terms of fire. Okay. What you want to make sure is that people are adhering to it all. For example, if they're working in, like we said earlier, emergency exits, that they're not blocking it. Okay. If they are using any hot works, they are not using it near flammable materials. Okay. It should be you that's picking up on the fact that whatever job you've got to be carried out in the day isn't going to present any problems like that. If it is, you might have to change it. You might have to get a hot works permit organised. Right. Electrical safety. Oh no, actually. Show you this video. I'll show you this video. If you can just flick back to page 212, can you see that site there? It's very tight, isn't it? Can you see it on 212?
Yeah.
212. my accent. With that one. Nice tidy site, that, isn't it? What have you got in that site? Lots of fuel. You got loads of fuel. What have you got surrounding it?
Rubbish.
Oxygen.
Rubbish.
Right.
Eat tonight?
Ever seen results yesterday, though? Mighty Leeds United.
It's
4 out of 4.
New manager, is it?
4 out of 4. Joint top. Anyway. No. Loads of rubbish, that is your fuel. Yeah? Surrounded by oxygen. In and around it. Okay? All you need is someone to walk past and go,
Easy way to get rid of it.
right. I'm going to show you a video now. This happened at a football ground in 1986
Yeah, I saw that.
in the UK. You might have seen it before, it's quite a common video. When I play it, what I want you to consider is, you hear the commentator, John L. I was at home Saturday watching this. See what the time is there when he says, oh, it looks like we got a fire. The fire's down in this corner, in this stand. Okay, note the time, and then I'll keep pointing out the time and look at how the fire spread. When it meets the conditions of when you've got the heat, the fuel, and plenty of this. So when they come together, see how it takes off.
The moment though, he's played it straight to Redford. Offside flag this time against John Thomas.
Look at them shorts. Look at that haircut.
Player of the year, David Evans, taking this free kick. Just inside his own half. And this volley, here's Campbell. Short of his arm, does he? No, the referee says no. Campbell still couldn't get through. He's indicating himself he handled. We've actually got a fire in the stand on the far side of the ground.
So the panic in a minute,
Very nasty indeed.
44 and a half
Police have gone
minutes.
over there to try and quell the fire, and they're frantically getting some of the supporters out. Now these are extraordinary scenes at Valley Parade. It's supposed to be a day of celebration. One hopes the stand doesn't burn down. And the game has obviously had to stop. Saw the smoke about a minute ago. But now that fire is beginning to rage. And the police are doing a tremendous job in getting people out of the stand and onto the pitch. But a day of triumph could turn into a day of disaster here for Bradford. These are quite astonishing scenes, and I've just seen the police leading a couple of people out of the ground. And the smoke is now engulfing the pitch at one end. As that blaze grows, the stand has to be in jeopardy. Over a year ago, Bradford City lost their floodlights, they were blown over, and now the stand may well be burning down. And the 2,500 people in that stand are panicking. They are frantic to get out. But these are disastrous scenes for the club. One can feel the heat.
90 seconds.
And that is a catastrophic sight for Bradford City Football Club. The whole stand is going up in flames. And that person there looks to be burning. And the timbers are coming down onto the ground. But this is horrific. because the heat is now becoming tremendous. I'm sitting immediately opposite the main stand, and I can feel the heat. It's almost beginning to burn me over here, quite honestly. The whole stand is going to have gone in the space of a few minutes. Quite extraordinary scenes at Valley Parade. This was supposed to be a day of joy, triumph and celebration. It's turning it into a nightmare. There's a policeman on fire there. He's managed to quell that. The woman being led from the stand, and there are still one or two people, and I must say it is only one or two isolated people in there. But the roof is caving in. The smoke, the black pall of smoke is rising hundreds of feet in the air, and the whole place is smoking. They've been talking about having a new ground at Valley Parade. They might so have to have one, because this is the day that Valley Parade Football Club, football ground, is burning down. The heat is quite intense, and you can see that floodlight pilot might well soon be in danger as well. One dreads to think of the cost, but one dreads to think of life at a moment like this. Bodies are being dragged away from that stand. Hopefully now, as I look across the ground, everybody is out. The police have done a manful job, because the raptors have been coming down on them, and you can see the exhaustion and the panic on the faces of some of those people there. And this is a burning hell. And look at that! Oh, the poor man! Oh, this is awful. The police desperately trying to save the life of a supporter. He come to watch the football. This is human tragedy. 10 minutes ago, we were looking at a football game. I now look at a sad and tragic sight. The ambulance is beginning to arrive, and the stand is almost gone. The roof of the stand must surely...
So, the time? Just inside 5 minutes. Yeah. That's how quickly it'll spread. So that site there, all it takes is for one person to go by, yeah, or a bit of sunlight on the wrong material, and then all that's gone. Okay. You can't even see what's to the right of that. Okay. It might be something else, it might be flammable material. Okay. So that's the extent and the speed at which it can spread. So this is why it's important that we ensure everyone knows about the plans in terms of storage, emergencies, and what to do to stop things happening. Right. Next chapter then talks about electrical safety. A few specialists over this, haven't we?
Oh yeah.
I'll get to talk about it, I'll probably charge me for Okay, what's the, it's great electricity, isn't it? What's the downside of it? It can kill you. Right. You can't see it, you can't smell it, it moves pretty quickly. Yeah, do you know the speed at which it moves? The speed of light.
50 cycles a second.
50 cycles a second. Okay. Moves at the speed of light, do you know what that is? 186,000 kilometres. It's still, it's a phenomenal amount. I can't even comprehend how much that is. 186,000 kilometres per second. That's 186,000 miles. 1 mile per second is going to be pretty quick. The point I'm making is, when you go, oh, I wonder if it is, you're already feet back, burning or in bits, aren't you? It moves quickly. Okay, right. Legislation that's in place to make sure we don't get any issues with electricity. Well, first and foremost, okay, electricity at work regulations, what do they tell you? It's law for what? If you're going to have electricity, where does it come from? Where do you get it from? It comes from the grid. Right? How does it get to site? Alright, who installs it inside? Him. You, alright. The point it's making is the power source, okay, that we use on site has got to be installed by a competent electrician. You can't have any Tom, Dick or Harry just going, that's alright, I'll jack into that and get us some power so we can work on that. Okay, it's got to be installed by the competent person. Right. Also got to have management of health and safety work rigs. What do they tell us? Got to carry out risk assessments. Yeah. Got to carry out risk assessments. Okay. We might also consider pure. What does pure cover? You're all there yesterday or this morning, weren't you? Yeah? It's a load of information, isn't it? Your head's going. Tools. Any work equipment, provision and use of work equipment rigs. Okay? Right. Turnover. Safe systems of work when working with electricity. So, if it's installed correctly, if we're using any tools that are plugging into it, and we're checking them all the time, making sure they're fit, okay, and then we're carrying out risk assessments to make sure we can identify any of the hazards, what could go wrong? No. Should do, should it? Why is it go wrong then? Because you put people in the mix. People are idiots. Right, safe system work for electricians. Alright, listen to this, it's quite interesting. This kind of know what the answer is going to be. It's got a safe system work about lock-off, tag-out system. That power source that's been implemented on site, only the electricians work on it. And if they do work on it, they normally have to isolate the system, right, using lock-off, tag-out system. If you don't know what it is, it's a bit like, so we've got Greg, Ben, electrician, Livia, and the electrician. No? One a bit. Is another one? It's three. Yeah. Okay, right, so, three of them. Okay. They need to work on the system. Ben goes in first, but what he does is, where he turns the power off, he puts a tag on it, puts a padlock on it, so no one can like turn and re-energise the system, turn the power back on. Why? Because he don't want anyone turning the power on when he's working on the system, on the circuit. Okay. Greg then comes in, oh, someone's working on it already. What he doesn't want to do is go, oh, someone's working on it, I'll be alright, I'll just nip in there and work on it. Okay. What he does is, he puts his tag on, his padlock, so when Ben comes out, he's finished, he takes his tag off, but he still can't turn the power back on because there's another padlock on it. Okay. Then Livia comes along, he puts his until all of them have been removed, i.e. the last one out, so no more padlocks on, turn the power back on. That's a safe system of work. You do that. Yeah. Really? Yeah?
Yeah.
100%. Do you do it? Me? No. Do you do it? Yeah. You know what? This is the first course when all electricians, even one of the electricians,
It's a system on a lot of sites.
This is the first course where a spark is gone, without doubt. You have to do it.
If you get caught while working on a circuit has been properly isolated, you're gone.
Really? Good, well I'm glad. Because it's renewed my faith in all this stuff.
Is it not? They've got people who work on DVs and stuff like that. I've not everything on. They work on full breakers. They work on this problem, obviously, potential to kill someone. Not saying that anything else.
Honestly, it's frightening the amount of spark has got. Nah, I don't bother. I go, but it's there for years. Go in there, get it done, and get out. Really? Anyway, improving on. So, we've got a system that's in place, alright? These lads have put it in place, competent electricians, it's fit for us to use. Okay? We're going to plug our tools into it, we make sure that our tools are right. Okay? What power do the tools run on around site? 110, why 110?
There's no cases.
They won't kill it.
It reduces the risk.
Reduces the risk, alright?
Still kill it.
Well, can it?
Yeah, probably kill us.
I'm just about to kill you.
Have you got arm problems?
I'll help you person if you do.
Don't you only get the maximum 55?
55,
Right.
Yeah, you only get 110% earth and live or earth and neutral.
Right. Okay. Hence the reason why we use that. What other voltages do we use around here? In the offices, for example? 240? 230, 240? Yeah. Right. What happens if you come in contact with that? That can carry it. Hence the need why out on site we only use the 110. However, what hazards have you got when you're using powered tools? Alright, cables, so slips and trips. Electric shock, water, shock, yeah. Whatever you're plugging into. Okay. Sometimes you might have to move things around, manual handling, possibly. Right. So what would be the safest way to protect against electricity? Use cordless. Use cordless. Use battery powered tools. Alright? Eliminate. Why do we not use battery powered tools everywhere then? So cost more. What cost? Alright. This is going back to yesterday, isn't it? That reasonably practical. They cost more.
Access to the Not charger. powerful
So then we've still got to bring a charger in.
This one's got practical or got purpose.
They're not fit for purpose. They're not as good as powered tools.
They are not so
I mean,
powerful.
Yeah, they're not. You have to recharge it. Years ago, I remember getting bought an electric screwdriver by the mother-in-law. She hates me. She bought me this electric screwdriver. Right? It was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 batteries just put in the side. That was bog standard DIY crap job. Okay, but it kind of mimics when they first came out. You press the button, right, and it start turning the screw. As soon as the screw had any kind of resistance, it died. You had to turn it with your hand anyway. I'm not saying they're like that because you've now got these dual lithium batteries and right, they're singing all that fantastic things. Alright, they are much better than what they were, but sometimes they're still not as good as power tools. Okay, all things considered, you might say, well, cost. We still have to charge up the batteries. Okay. Well, we'll still use power tools. We'll use 110 volts because the risk is much less. What we'll do is we'll make sure people are checking their tools, we're checking their cables, checking their plugs, checking what they're plugging into. If there's any problems, what do? Tell you, look, and stop advice. You then, if there's a problem with the supply, then could speak to a competent sparking. Okay.
Do you still get as much power from 110 as you do 230?
No, that's when you go 230 will be like, you get 230 volt.
Doing to the transformer, though.
Yeah.
Normally they're like 3-phase supply, so that's the transformer itself can be dangerous. You start fucking poking about there.
Yeah, but if you had a 110 drill and a 230 drill, would they
So both will be slightly more powerful. You can still do the 110 will still do the job.
do the job, but not quite as well?
See, when we start talking about all of the electrical talk, right, it's amazing that you two sat together. Right? In break time, you'll start like loads of conversation. About 3-phase, this, that, and that. The rest of us will be like going, oh. This is why you're number one in that poll.
Yeah.
Right, just you might want to remember about the voltages and why you use a 110. Because the chance of death is somewhat reduced. You've got more chance of survival. It then starts talking about dealing with electric shock. Going into first aid again. We're not doing a first aid course. Takes us on to chapter 19, temporary works. What's temporary works, anybody? Don't say work that is temporary.
It's like an agent works, like as in like site lighting, boardings, some site
All
work,
cabins, officers, all that kind of stuff. It's not they're going to be there permanently. Some of it, I suppose. Some of it might end up indirectly being permanent. Supposed to.
So there's no actual stipulation for amount of days for it being temporary?
No, it just means something you're going to put in place that's going to be removed and not part of the completed structure. Right. Have a look on page 236, please. Right. second paragraph down on the left-hand side, temporary works can take many forms, such as hoardings, access roads, excavations, propping and building supports. It is important that, whatever the form, it is clear who is responsible for each temporary work structure, and that those with the responsibility for them have the appropriate skills to deal with them safely and effectively. You can't go on a course through Citb, another course, to be temporary work supervisor or temporary work coordinator. Okay, different course. I think one of those 2 days, one might be 5 days, I can't remember. I've never done it. Right, have a look at the table. Important you remember this. Examples of temporary works. Hoardings, cabins, access road, propping, excavation support, building support, formwork. Now, if you have got some there, if it's not specialised, so you don't need the temporary work supervisor, the bottom line, what you want to get is it's the same as everything else. What that next bit's talking about is your primary concern, whether it be temporary works or not, but particularly with temporary works, is health and safety of everybody concerned. Okay? So even if it's just going to be a quick road, even if it's going to be some supports for excavation, you just got to make sure that people still remain safe. So, examples there. Good to remember the examples of what temporary works are. Next one, work equipment and handheld tools. We've covered this already, haven't we? What covers this? What regulations cover work equipment and handheld tools? Fewer. We're getting there. What did I say about pure? He says it's got to be safe. If you adapt it, it's got to be safe. If you use it in strange conditions, it's got to be safe. Okay. If you're handing it to the person, what must they be? They've got to be competent. That's what pure says. Skills, knowledge, attitude or ability, training, and experience. It's important that I mention, look at page 244. You've got mobile plant and vehicles. Right, you said either yesterday or early on today, main cause of fatalities on construction site is falling from height, closely followed by being struck by vehicles. So when you talk about vehicles, there's other ways in which people get injured. Have a look at the third cross down. Passengers being carried on plant that is not designed to carry them. Right. Such as, what's plant that's not designed to carry people? Forklift,
Goods hoist.
dump truck,
Goods hoist.
goods hoist,
316.
excavators. Okay, right. This should be marked actually. No passengers. Right. It's a big clue. Right. People sometimes get in the front of the dump truck. You've seen the video where they're taking them from side round the corners to the calf on the road. There's about 4 lads in the dump truck. Okay, right. Major accidents have occurred when people are like getting lifts on trains, excavators, dump trucks, and they fall out and they end up under the wheels or under the tracks. Okay. That's because they are accepting rides on plant that is not designed to carry passengers. So when do we accept a lift? Never.
It's designed. Only if it's designed to carry.
Only if it's designed. Because if it's the works van and there's a spare seat and someone stops and says, "Can I lift?" Yeah, by all means, it's not an issue because there's a seat that's designed to carry passengers. On plant where it's not designed, you make sure your workers aren't riding around on it. They're not going around in the bucket. You've what? You do what? You're. No, yeah.
Years ago.
No, you're a sensible lad. So, we make sure that all these tools are in good working order. We have daily checks. Do you check your tools daily?
No.
No. Why not?
He was alright yesterday.
I had a young lad on a course and he was an arrogant so-so. He was sitting back there, not really taking any notice. Alright, and he wouldn't even talk to anybody. Didn't understand. It was a 1-day course to get his green card. Like, don't want to be type of thing. And I tried involved, right? You check your tools, you went, no. Said, why not? You went, work yesterday. I went, oh. What is the problem? Yeah, no, totally not involved at all. Okay. Why do we want to check our tools? What do we check on? It's safe. What do we check? Casing, right? Lead, where it comes out. Yeah, check the check the plug. Check the working parts. Let's test it when it's plugged in. Is it working? Yeah, does it sound alright? Does it look alright? Any sparks? I'm going to check it's the right drill bit, it's the right blade. Have a look on page 248, what can happen if you don't check, it goes wrong. Don't you look at it. Right, talking of transport, have a look at the next chapter. Right. So, vehicles, mobile plant. Yeah. What are the examples of vehicles and mobile plant they get around site? Excavators, forklifts,
Vans, cars,
anybody else?
Roll.
Roller, yeah.
Numbers.
Dumpers, utes. There's loads of things, isn't there? Yeah. Right. Anything that's considered motored, that's driven by a motor or power source, tracks or wheels, is considered a mobile plant or a vehicle. Okay. You have operators that either can walk with them or sit on them. You get people that aren't anything to do with them but walk around on foot. They are considered pedestrians. So if you're not on the plant, you are a pedestrian. Right. When these two come together, there's only one winner. Pedestrians will always lose out. Who's involved? We've got the vehicles. We've got the drivers or operators. We've got these numpties, pedestrians. We've got
Traffic marshal.
the traffic route. Has anyone been a traffic marshal?
Bands.
You've done the course?
4 hour. 4 hour.
4 hours, done in what, about 40 minutes? It's shouldn't really speak like that because they play a vital part as long as they do a job right, traffic marshals. My experience of them is they've done it just to get a job. Okay, they're not really interested in it. They just want small pay and they're doing something. Okay, I'm not going to knock the individuals, but the majority I've seen are quite poor at what they do, and that's because of the attitude of other people around them. You walk on site, and I don't want to do it, and you go, oh, you are walking on site, and they tend to get that day in, day out. They're like, oh, I'll just be really, really quiet. I had one guy on a course, and he said he's hated because he uses the correct signals to make sure the vehicles are moved at the right time in the right direction, and he will not move from that path. And I went, yeah, good on you. All right. And his course had actually said, you know what? I'm taking you from that, and I'm going to put you in as a supervisor. And he was here as his supervisor's course because of what he was doing. Literally, if he didn't give the go-ahead, no one getting in or out of sight, and he would not budge. So all these, these big hard workers that are going in going, stop it, yeah, and he'd radio, and he'd get managers out, and the managers would come out and go, why talking like that, and he ran it like clockwork. Fair play to him. People like that few and far between when it comes to traffic marshals. Anyway, so lots of accidents. Second major cause of fatalities in construction vehicles on site. So you're going to tell me how each of these areas can be controlled. What can we do with vehicles? All right, eliminate them. No vehicles.
From pedestrians.
Eliminate them from pedestrians. Is that eliminating, or is that reducing, or is that preventing contact?
Make sure they're safe roads, don't say use.
Okay, right, I'm going to go back a bit. Do you remember when we had eliminate, reduce? What is reducing? Reducing would be reduce the amount of vehicles, reduce the time they operate, reduce the number of pedestrians, etc. You're on about preventing contact, the next step down. Because if you reduce the usage of the vehicle, you might be paying like a couple of grand a week for it, depending on the vehicle. And if it's sitting down for a couple of hours in the morning, a couple in the afternoon, that's 10 hours a week, it's not working. Okay? You know, and that's a big drain on your resources. So, preventing contact, put barriers in. It's the safest way of protecting pedestrians from vehicles, all right? But we're looking at the vehicles. What can we do with the vehicles to ensure safety?
Make them visible.
View,
Mirrors.
some mirrors.
Right.
That's the. You can put. I'll tell you what. You can put a limiter on the vehicle. All right.
There are these,
That's what I meant. Yeah. What else with the
there is
vehicle?
proximity sensors.
Yeah, you can have
People wear-
sensors on it now. Yeah. Fit for purpose. Oh yeah. Good working order.
Beware this vehicle is turning left.
So all the sirens, all the audible, visual alarms, visible alarms are working. Okay. Have you seen the plant now that's got the green light on? Yeah. What's that tell you?
That's where it's moving.
Means that everything's safe, as in the seat belts in and all that. One guy said, "Is it a first aider driving it?" It's a green light. I know, but in all fairness,
Good idea.
the cars you see going down there, if it's got doctor written on the side, they have a green flashing light. So. Right. Make sure all the working parts are checked, it's in good working order, it's clearly marked. Everything's working. Yeah. What do these do then? What do we do with these?
Check with the train.
Trained and competent. Yeah. What else?
Experience.
Alright, experience, yeah. What else? We can educate them, can't we? What is the traffic route? What is the route they're supposed to be taking? Where are they not supposed to go? What to do if there's an issue with the vehicle? Don't just take it out. Yeah, light's not working, but others are. I'll take it out anyway. Now stop. Just come back to you and go. Just need to get this sorted first. What about these?
Visibility.
Alright, where your eye is. Yeah. Everyone gets told the traffic management system or the routes.
Follow them on the pedestrian routes.
Make sure they comply with it. Educate them. Tell them where people like to try and take shortcuts and why they're not supposed to do that. Only use the crossing areas. So, it brings us on to the route. What can we do with the route?
Segregate.
Alright, segregation, barriers. What barriers are we going to put in place? Because in your books there, you've got like the plastic barriers. Is that adequate?
4-star.
It depends, doesn't it?
It
Depends where you are, what vehicles you've got on site. You have a look at the history of your accidents. If you have no accidents with vehicles, you might think, do you know what? I'll just put some cogs out and a bit of bunting. I might just spray something on the floor to say pedestrians walk this side. If you've got heavy plant and a history of a lot of accidents, you might say, I'm going to put some concrete barriers in. Right. It depends on the size of your site as well. It depends on this. Yeah, reasonably practical. So barriers. Yeah. What else can we do with the route? Banksman. Yeah. Sign marks, signs, mirrors, speed limits. Make sure it's nice, smooth surface. Make sure it's wide enough for your widest vehicle, high enough for your tallest vehicle. Anything else? Visibility, get lighting put in.
Make sure the pedestrian route is wide enough for the amount of pedestrians you've got
Okay.
on site as well.
Yeah, you've got nice movement. You don't like bottlenecks. What about, what did we say yesterday about, what was it this morning? The days merge into each other, don't they? What did we say about when vehicles are being hit, pedestrians are being hit by vehicles, it's normally when they're going backwards. How do we get rid of reversing?
One-way systems.
Have one-way system in place. Okay. Or have designated areas where they work with the banksman to turn them round or reverse them. Okay. Or what do we do about deliveries?
Booked in.
Organise them.
Get them booked in, organise them so they're booked in. Because what might happen as well, not only on site, who's been on the site when you get the locals coming in and punching the traffic marshal because there's 4, Ellen, why are you looking like that? Right. 4 truckloads turn up at once All right, where are we going to go? Well, you're not down on my list. Oh, I don't know what to do now. All right, well, now there's another 3 turning up. Now the road's blocked. And you got the mums in the Chelsea tractors wanting to get their children to school on a morning, but now you've blocked their road. Now traffic's building up behind them and everyone's getting frustrated and aggressive. Okay. So what do? You book them in, you plan. All right. The missus worked, she was an office manager at Olympic Park and they had a strict routine. Okay. She had to book every delivery 48 hours in advance. If that driver missed a time slot, which he was given 2 days previously, unlucky. Go back, speak to the office manager, she'll have to rebook it another 2 days' time. They didn't move from that path. Okay. So they never had any issues with vehicles outside. Okay. So loads of things you can do. So safest way, try to prevent it, just keep people separate. Segregate people from vehicles wherever possible. Right. Next two. Covering Lola. Lola. I'm going to get that out of my head around Lola. I'll just keep flicking through. I'm going through chapters one by one. I haven't really settled on a page yet. Right, don't worry about the pages just yet. So 22 and 23 are covering this loader. Lifting operations and lifting equipment regulations. So lifting operations, the actual operation of carrying out lifting, and lifting equipment, anything used for lifting, including accessories. Right, 2 parts really to loader. Part 1. All lifts must be planned, supervised, carried out safely by competent person. Seems fair enough, that, doesn't it? What could go wrong? Anyone use cranes? Yeah. Do you supervise lifts?
Yeah, I used to have the ticket for lifting supervisor.
Or the appointed person, lift supervisor? Okay. You'll know all about this then? Oh yeah, you can come up. Well, impressed. Right. So, plan. How do we plan for lifts? Well, how do we plan for any activity? What have we done? Assessment, method statement, alright? Risk assessment, however, it's lifting. Don't call it a risk assessment, we call it a lift plan. It's got to be done by this person, it's got to be planned by this competent person. Okay, this is what Lola said. Lola is on top of pure. Right. What was pure again? Tools. Any equipment, not just tools, any work equipment. Anything you are using to carry out work must be subject to pure, must be fit for purpose, must be inspected. Okay. Lola is in addition when you're using lifting equipment. Why? Because it's so dangerous. If it goes wrong, it can go wrong big time. So, first part, it's got to be planned, supervised, carried out in a safe manner by its competent person. If you want, sometimes called AP or lift supervisor. They carry out this lift plan, which is a thorough risk assessment for lifting. Right. So, did you work for the crane company?
No, we're doing steel erecting, and sometimes they supplying the crane company, they supplying the lifting supervisor, they own the lifting supervisor, but sometimes for the small jobs they
don't, and you do it. Yeah. Okay. So for the small jobs, right? For the big jobs, the involved jobs, what you'll do is your company will say, your manager will say, we need to get a crane in. They will ring up and ask for a crane. Okay. And the crane company say, do you want it supervising? It means, do you want one of our people to come, our competent people to come out and plan the lift, be there on site to supervise it and make sure it's carried out in a safe manner. Now, depending on the extent of it, if you're lifting something vital, something expensive, you want to make sure it's looked after. How much are cranes these days? How much is a 50-ton crane? Anyone know?
£5 a day.
£5 a day. How much does it cost extra to have someone come out and plan it all and look after it?
Oh, that's for £500.
No, that's about £5 grand.
300 quid or 300.
Maybe another.
We have to hire a crane to lift several parts of wood, several parts of metal at Tide Bridge, so they can close the road. The crane to arrive, it costs exactly £5
For the crane.
for the crane, yeah. And you've done it in, let's say, 3 hours and a half.
Okay.
Because they need to get the planning permission from the council and all this stuff, not is organized by the crane company.
Yeah. But
They don't let
do.
you to get involved in this.
Oh, so depending where you work.
Yeah. Well, obviously the areas.
Yeah. Okay. If they offer it, sometimes you will pay extra for this person to come out. But what you've got to weigh up. All right. Let's say it is another £5. It's double the hire of the crane. You've got to consider: have we got anyone who can look after this? Have we got anyone who knows how to make sure it's all connected? All right. Whatever we're lifting, are they attached properly to the crane? Are the accessories in good working order? Is the crane all right? Where are we going to site the crane? All right. What's going to happen to the load once we lift it in the air and start moving it? All right. These people are very experienced. Now, depending what you're moving, if it's £200,000 worth of equipment, an extra £5 just to make sure it's taken care of and lifted properly, peanuts. If you do say, yeah, I'll ask appoint a person or a lift supervisor to come out with it, it's what's called contract lifting. Okay. That's where they take care of everything. Now, when they turn up at site, people next door, the site manager, still needs to check the documentation regarding the crane to make sure everything's in working order. Okay. They make sure that the crane has had its particular tests and things done, which I'll come on to in a second. All right. So, that's the first part of Lola, that's kind of chapter 22. 23 is this, part 2. So with Pure, we said the work equipment has got to be in good, safe condition, yeah? We inspect it. We might do daily checks. We might have maintenance and servicing, but we also have periodic inspections. What Lola says is, on top of this periodic inspection, or any other inspections, we have what's called thorough examination. This is normally carried out by a competent yet independent engineer. So this is the second part of Lola. Has anyone seen one of these being carried out? It takes hours for this to be carried out.
Is that where we got on that section change, but tags on it?
Yeah, so independent from the crane company. They come out. I've even seen a guy with I was like, what's he doing with that crane? And he's like holding a gadget like this and just walking across the boom of the crane. And when I stood there, he's x-raying. You can see through the metal to see if there's any stress cracks on the inside. So they operate it, they make sure that all the outriggers come out, the boom extends, okay, they lower cables, they do everything with it to make sure it's all working right. They then load it up to its maximum weight, okay, and check there's nothing going wrong with it. Okay. At the end of it, it gives you a written report. Right. You have to pay for this. So this is for any lifting equipment. Anything you use for lifting is subject to Lola. Even things like excavators. Okay, you're digging up the earth, if you're lifting it up and putting it somewhere else, for example, in the back of the truck, it's all under Lola, as well as Pure. Right, so any lift, planned, supervised, carried out using lifting equipment. Okay? Some to a lesser degree, obviously, because if it's an excavator, you don't have to have that plan. You don't have to come and plan from getting it from the ground in the back of the truck. Alright, you're only talking when you're lifting a materials up at height, specific lifting equipment. Okay. Right. This bit, time limits on this thorough examination. What do we lift? All right. Anything that's heavy. Yeah. Right. I'm going to say we lift. Basically, if I'm going to separate everything we lift into two categories, goods and materials. What else do we lift?
People.
People. Tools can still come under that. Alright? People.
Cherry pickers. Cherry pickers.
Alright, cherry pickers. Yeah. Those, views. What's most important of these two? People. We are, aren't we? So these thorough examinations must be carried out at intervals not exceeding 12 months or 6 months. Right. Well, if we're more important, anything used for lifting people must have this thorough examination carried out at periods not exceeding 6 months. Anything other than lifting people, i.e. anything else, has it 12 months. This also includes accessories, such as your chains, hooks, spreader beams, bars. Anything that's connected, the lifting equipment to the goods, considered accessories. That is in the 6 months bracket. You can have it done when you want. You can have it done weekly if you want. You've got to pay for it. And it's not cheap. However, if you are lifting 24/7, I spoke to a guy, he's got a lot of high-ups, a lot of flatbeds with high-ups on. He says, and we have to have them done every 7 weeks because the amount of lifting we're doing. He said these trucks are out 24/7. So, worth remembering that. So that's pretty much Lola. Covers lifting equipment. And it brings us on to, that's the end of the orange one. Sure. We need to see if anyone's arrived from this. No. Who wants to work over there? Nice job. Well, finish me off that, I think. I don't know where that is, but it's.
New York.
You're alright with that? No, that is a surprise. The guy told me he knows someone who, you know the lights they put on these towers? He changes the bulbs on them. Okay, one in particular. I can't remember the structure. Twice a year he changes the bulbs. 60 grand a year he gets paid.
One light,
2 days work.
change just only one light for 20,000
I
pounds
know,
every 6 months. Yeah, but I don't forget the height.
I can't remember.
But
Fair
anyway,
play.
it's
Fair play. I wouldn't have 60 grand to do it.
only one light.
More than that.
I won't do it. Unless like, my life depends on it.
I'll do one a day.
Huh?
I'll do one a day.
The equivalent. Yeah, I'm not sure there's a 40 grand dollar. Right. If you don't have to do this, if you look in the chapter titles at the beginning, when you get to the red section, it's called high risk activities. If you look at that, the first bit we're doing is working at house. Why is that high risk? Well, we've already covered the fact that the majority of fatalities in construction, is from falling from height. The hazard isn't being up there, the hazard is falling. Some people say the hazard is the ground.
The sudden start.
Alright, so it's not the height,
It's a sudden
ground
start.
that kills you. Right. Right. So what is working at height? Applies to all work at height where there's a risk of a fall liable to cause personal injury. It's kind of moved on a bit from there now. Right. I'll have a look in the book in a second. The definition of working at height, if you want to know if these regulations apply, you need to ask what is working at height. It's defined as a fall where you're either above or below ground now, where without protection you could be injured. So that definitely, they're above ground. If they fall without protection, they're going to be injured big time. It might even be, I'm standing next to an excavation looking in. Okay, if I can fall ground level down and be injured, working at height regs apply. It even includes now, if I'm in the excavation and people are above and can drop things in on me, working at height regulations apply. Okay, so any height where a fall from above ground to ground or ground level down can cause injury when you haven't got any protection. Okay. Right. So it's high risk. By high risk, we mean it's probably going to cause lots of grief. So what we have to do with anything that's high risk, whether it be excavation, whether it be confined spaces, whether it be working at height, it's got to have a thorough risk assessment done by a competent person. Yeah? You've got to have this. What you've also got to make sure is anyone that's working at height is competent. They've been given the right training. They've got to have the right tools to work at height. They've got to have the right access to get up at height. Okay? You've got to make sure that whatever you develop, this safe system of work, your risk assessment method statement, is going to be followed by the people that are going up at height. Right. These regulations are saying this is what you need to do when working at height. If it's so risky, we'll talk about that in a second. Avoid it. Why would you work it out? Avoid. I think we mentioned it earlier on, didn't we? Like yesterday, house builders. Was it the day before? The amount of time people work at height these days is somewhat reduced depending on the nature of the job. Okay. Bridge work, for example. Rather than spend all the time building across from two sides, what they can do now, depending on the nature of where the bridge is going to be and the type of bridge, they'll build it flat, i.e. on the ground or at the roadside, and then when it's complete, they'll lift it up and put it in place. Alright, you have to be at height to secure it and connect, etc., but the amount of time throughout the whole project working at height is somewhat reduced. Right, avoid working at height wherever reasonably practical. If we can't avoid it, prevent. Right, what's the hazard? Just falling. Right, tall building. Where are we going to fall from?
Top.
Top. Where on the top?
Any top. Roof.
Edge.
Scaffold.
Edge. If I'm in the middle of the building, it's 10 metres that way, 10 metres that way, I'm not going to fall. Right. I'll get the dance in. Fall from the edge. Right. This bit there, we're going to prevent the fall. Whenever we look at working at height, whenever we look at controlling really, we want to look at having collective measures over personal. What does this mean? Collective is measures that are put in place that are going to protect everybody rather than just the one individual. So, Tall building, I need to prevent the hazard, which is falling. We fall from there. What collective measure can I put in place that stops people falling?
Handrails, harnesses.
Harnesses are now personal, because that harness, if you put a harness on, Greg, who's it helping? Just you. Selfish electricians.
Whoever I fall on down the line.
Just drop my wallet.
Oh,
Yeah, mate. That's gonna.
I'll get groundwork to concrete.
Right. So we use collective measures. All right. Before you can also put in harness. Okay, but we always opt for collective measures before personal measures. Right. Let's say the work involves working on the corner there. So we've got an increased chance that we are going to fall. Let's say we can't prevent the fall. What do we need to do? Well, it says mitigate. Mitigate, I like to use this minimize really. Because mitigate means what you're looking at is reducing wherever reasonably practicable the distance of the fall or the impact if you do fall. So what collective measures that we can put in place to reduce the distance and or the impact? Netting.
Big bag, big airbags.
Airbags, crash bags,
Scaffold.
scaffold. Personal measure, again, you're looking at harnessing. Got to be careful though, supervisors, watch out for it. You put airbags down, what do people want to do? Right, has anyone done harness training?
Yeah.
Right, so when you do harness training, it shows you lovely videos there, don't it? Yeah. But show you the one where you got his testicle caught, and they explode. Right, when you dropped, when you got your body weight and you got the harness on, you know the harnesses are like there and over there. Okay. When you go through training, they'll teach you it's 2 fingers. If you get 2 fingers underneath, no more than 2 fingers, it's perfect. Yeah, if you get more than 2 fingers, it's slack. If you can't get 2 in, it's tight. Okay, and that's for wherever the harness is surrounding your body. Okay. Simply because if you are left hanging, that harness starts having an effect on your circulation. Okay, you've got about 15 minutes before it will be dangerous. So if you are employing harnesses, what you must also have in your risk assessment is a rescue plan in case anyone falls to get them either down or back up inside this time period. Because if not, certain things can go wrong. And if they get caught, this particular video shows where it stops his circulation. Okay, and the blood that's inside his testicles stays at any basically swells up and up until they burst.
Oh, this might hurt.
You always hear moans and groans when you tell that story. Right. There was a guy last year in London, he did potholes. Yeah. You only have to go over a pebble in them things and you feel it in the basket. Alright. This thing went in a dip, bounced him out of the basket, and he didn't have a harness on, and killed him. He fell about 30 feet. Okay. And I can't remember where he was, London somewhere.
I do have points in the news, again, like I say, if you do a risk assessment, you want to some people, you're allowed to get, not out of the system, but you're allowed to, obviously, we've done the work, sort of risk assessment and stuff like that, you're allowed to take some wires to obviously get out of work and stuff like that.
Yeah, right. That's if you're working out of it. What I'm going to say now is, so you don't have to wear them in scissor lifts. I can appreciate why. But if it's me on site, I'd say put a harness on if you're using a scissor lift. Why? Right. Scissor lift gets us to there, and we can't quite reach. What are people going to do?
Jump on the rails.
Stand on the handrail. Yeah. All right. And then what are you going to do? There's a higher likelihood of you falling.
Increase the risk.
You increase the risk. So if you are going to do that, I'd say, yeah, put it on. It's not low. Yeah. Why? I don't know. It'd be much safer. When do you not wear a harness in a cherry picker?
When you move it on, just verbally.
When you're outside.
You have to go out if you're over water. Okay. If the basket's over water, then what do you wear?
Life
jacket. Yeah, because if you're over in water and you're attached, alright, the basket starts going under the water, you're attached to it, it's pulling you under. Alright, so it's the only time.
You know, you mentioned previously about the 2 fingers and attaching the harness. Does a qualified person have to verify that the person has attached it correctly, or
No, you can set it wrong once you've done the harness course. But what you normally do is you'll have someone check your harness once you put it on.
okay.
Because if you put it on the back or anything, you might twist. Okay, so you just make sure it's checked out. You must use them a lot. Start.
Yeah.
Excavations, next one. Who's the ground workers? Right, one at a time. It's the danger with excavations, don't read it. The ground worker. Who's not worked in excavations? Put your hand up if you've never worked in them. What's the hazard with excavation? Collapse. Right. You've worked in it, what are you reading it for? Right, collapse. Right, how do we protect against the sides collapsing? Shoring up, trench box, piling, sheets of them. Right, depending on the ground as well, you can dig it differently, you can step it down. Alright. What's another hazard? So we've got collapse. Falling in, how do we stop that? Barriers. Simple. Driving in. How do we stop plant going to in? Barriers. Yes, stop blocks. Yeah. What about what else have we got? Limited services. Cat Jenny, yeah, we'll come on to that. There's another chapter talking about underground and overground.
All the services.
Different services. Yeah, we'll come on to that in a second. What about
The excavator.
what about flooding? Sandbag.
Pumps.
Pumps. Right, look at the water table. What about gases? That's a hazard. Dig down, you get down as far as a metre and you can start unearthing gases. Right, so what do you do if there's gases in there?
Run away.
Run away! Who said that? Run away. Yeah, get out. Get out. So when would you enter? When would you allow workers to enter the excavation after gas has been identified? Alright, so when it's been tested, confirmed clear, and they give you the go ahead to go back in. Okay, right. So we get these excavations done. Who inspects excavations? Anyone? Driver. Well, the excavator operator.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Do they check excavations? So he might be competent to do it. Competent person. So when do we check excavations?
Every morning, I suppose.
Every time you go, before you go in.
All right. Start. Well, what we could agree on then is start of the shift where people are going to be in it. Yeah. When else might we check it though?
After breaks.
Yeah.
After a new excavation. After you excavate, be back in it.
When you leave it.
Before you leave the site.
Before you leave?
After it's rained.
You might grab. No? Yeah.
No.
Yes, they pick
That'd be fine the next morning, wouldn't it? So, what about after, who said rain? Heavy downpour? What if someone's been a bit overexcited and gone a bit too close and running and stop blocks? Or maybe they've been using vibrating plates or vibrating tools too close to an excavation. You might then have a look at it. Okay? But generally we consider it's done by a competent person at the start of every shift where work's carried out. Right. So, underground services, the next one. Have a look at 324 for me, please. Right, every year people are injured Some are killed due to accidental contact with underground or overhead services such as gas pipes and cables. I've never seen many gas pipes already. Right, underground services have the potential to cause harm. There are many injuries and deaths each year caused by accidental contact. A friend of a friend had his hand split. It's his own fault, really. Well, he's suffering. I'll stick up for him. It's not really his fault, really was. Just use a pickaxe to break up the top. Alright, hard surface. Okay. Because the plans showed that these cables were a good sort of 400 or 500 mil down. But when I put them in, I'd put them anywhere near that. They were much higher. And the ground was a bit soft and it's gone through and it's hit the cable. Right, so 6 steps to safety where you think services might be. First one, have a look at that. Obtain and understand current utilities company drawings. So you get the drawings first. Okay. Remember that one. Next, have a look at it, plan it, and then use CAT scan. Jenny, you know what a CAT scan is? Yeah, call it cable avoidance tool. Cabins is cable and avoidance. If you didn't know. Cable avoidance tool. Mark up, hand dig trilols. Where possible, avoid using pickaxe, forks or bars, and then ensure compliance with a guidance document on how to dig. I chatted to a guy on Friday's course. Has anyone used the vacuums? Like the air lads?
On a big lorry. On the back of the lorry.
I've never seen one in action, but you tell them and they're brilliant. So you use the air lads, right, and it breaks all the air up, and the soil up. And then the vacuum just sucks all the soil out. They said, really powerful. He said, we had to tell a woman to say, he works on the gas mains, so he does it on footpaths and main streets. And a woman was walking a dog. And he said, keep your dog away. Because if it gets too close and this vacuum comes up, it will pull the dog towards the vacuum. He said, you can put your fingers underneath the nozzle like that, and you'll be like, and you have to like use 2 hands to pull your fingers away. It's really powerful. Gets all the crap up. Air lance, blow it and break the soil up. This thing just sucks it all away. Perfect. You're not going to get any contact, you're not going to get any injuries. Right, remember that though. 6 steps to safety. 6 steps to safety. 6 steps to safety. Yeah. It's time for a break. 10 past. So 10 past what? 2?
Yeah.
Get back at half 12. I'll tell you what, we'll finish. Right, we'll finish this, then we'll have a 15-minute break so you can gather your thoughts before cracking yourself. Right. 6 steps to safety. There we go. Obtain and understand the current drawings. Okay. Have a look at that. Right, next one. Overhead services, just follow it up. Well, the only thing you need to be aware of overhead services, power lines. Do you know what the safe distance is in which to operate from overhead services?
5 metres.
Is it 5 metres? Thank you. So you're asking. Anybody else know?
And that's far away.
Do you guys know? Electricians.
3 metres, isn't it?
I can't remember. So many figures bounced around. Right. So what we can get, even from us, 21 people, right, there's some confusion. Who's going to help us clear up what safe distance is to work to the overhead competent person? Not exactly a competent person, but who can we contact?
Yeah, 10 feet.
Electricity board. Yeah.
Power supply company. If we're not sure, speak to the power supply company. I mean, what we could do is eliminate the risk. Bring them on, go, any chance you can turn the power off? What are they going to tell you?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Million
it's
pound
alright.
bill.
Yeah, see you later. Right, so a safe distance for which working close to overhead power supply.
We took some tree contours out. That's a while ago. And as we were digging around the roots, we found that their power cable went straight through the roof. We asked them how much they wanted to turn it off for half an hour while we just put the roof out in case we damaged the cable. 10 grand for half an hour.
Really?
And then of course if you damage the cable,
You've got to pay for it.
it's going through the roof.
You have to pay for it.
Yeah.
You don't need water in the ground to fix. Still going 2 hours, but only 10 grand.
Okay, right, bear with us, nearly there. Next bit, confined space. Anyone tell me what a confined space is? Go on, Alex.
I'm making the training to find the space, making risk.
You've done the training?
Yeah.
Good, well, so what's a confined space?
There's one space closed. I mean, it has to be over 5 meters, something like that, when we're supposed to be in some gases. And we, all the time before to go inside, we need a tripod, we need a harness, we need a...
Hang on, slow down. So what's a confined space?
This
Alright, so
closed
enclosed.
space.
Small space?
No, closed space.
Closed space?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bigger than 5 meters.
Bigger than 5 meters?
Yes. If it's, or no.
Who's saying no?
3 meters, something like that.
Smaller than 5
Yeah.
meters, probably.
No, anything
close
otherwise can be confined space.
No,
Even
if it's less than 5 meters, not
Hang on,
confined space.
go on, Alex. Go on. What are you saying then?
Yeah.
Even?
If it's less than 5 meters, not confined space. It's just what is over 5 meters.
Is it?
No.
confined is smaller.
Right, let's have a look at this.
Manhole.
Page 334, manhole.
334.
334. Got it?
Thanks.
334.
334. Confined space has two defining features. The space which is substantially, though not always entirely enclosed. So bear that in mind first. So substantially, although not entirely enclosed, i.e. it's got a very small entry and exit point. Normally the same. You've got one way in, one way out.
Tank, manholes.
Manholes is an example. A place where a specified risk exists, or there is a reasonably foreseeable risk of a specified risk being created. Okay, so what are the risks? Specified risk, go to the right hand side of that page, serious injury from fire or explosion. That's because you have flammable or explosive gases in there. Unconsciousness as a result of excessive body heat, because it's not entirely, although substantially enclosed. Okay. Very poor ventilation, and if it's in an area, for example, a boiler room, it's going to be quite hot. Unconsciousness or asphyxia from gas, fumes or vapours, or a lack of oxygen. Again, poor ventilation with poisonous gases in the area. Drowning in a liquid. So you could be in an area where if it floods quickly, you can't breathe. Or asphyxia, burial, engulfment or entrapment by a free-flowing solid like sand, grain, flour. So if you are in, for example, a silo where they store grain, you've got one way in, one way out. Okay? If they start filling it up with grain, you're not going to get out, you will drown in that free-flowing solid. All those are what the specified risks are. It's all to do with the atmosphere and not being able to breathe or losing consciousness. Okay? There's no particular size on it. Okay? So whoever's been on your course, slightly misinformed. Okay? Because there's probably a story in there. Oh yeah. See the top right hand corner, Alex? A worker died after inhaling toxic fumes while carrying out restoration work in a bathroom at a flat in southwest London. He was using industrial paint and varnish remover to strip resin coating from the bath. The room had insufficient ventilation. It was in a woman's flat. Downstairs flat, she's got the windows locked. He's gone into a bathroom, small bathroom, probably 2 meters by 2 meters. Okay. When he's been looking at these solvents, etc., took the lid off, they start evaporating, he starts breathing them in, he collapses and falls into the bath. Okay. The solvents are there, stopping him getting oxygen on board. She came back later on and found him, died. Okay. Doesn't necessarily mean that bathroom had to be 5 meters or bigger. Okay. So it's any space, normally where there's only one entry and exit point, where it's not entirely enclosed, although substantially enclosed, and it's all to do with the environment or the atmosphere not being able to breathe, either through lack of oxygen, excesses of heat, or free-flowing solids or fluids, liquids. You can have some examples. a cellar, a boiler, or chimney, manhole, sewer or drain. Sewers are massive, aren't they? They go on for kilometres. They can be quite small, some areas, especially access shafts. Ceiling void or duct, a caisson or cofferdam, do you know what they are? Right, cofferdam.
I'm quite surprised I consider a cellar.
Why? Right, what happens when you dig down into the earth? Gases, alright. So if you get naturally occurring gases, they can soak through the brickwork and collect, they're normally heavier than air, collect in the bottom of the cellar, you've got one way in. Sometimes you have a window there, sometimes you haven't, depends how deep your cellar is. So you're walking down into an area where there might be a collection of poisonous gases. Right. That's a river there. I need to get over it. I'm going to build a bridge. Right. How do I build a bridge? What do you need on bridges to support it?
Pillars.
Pillars. Right. How do I get the pillar in there? What do I need to do? I need to go down in the solid bit, the bedrock. Yeah. So I need to dig down there. Yeah. Fill it up with this reinforcing steel. Steel erector in there. Yeah. I get all the water out. No, what I might do is, if I look from above, I will get some, all connected obviously, sheet piling, all connected, this sheet piling, it'll go down there like that, into the bedrock. What I'll then do is, pump the water out. We've now created a cofferdam. Okay? I don't know if they get paid well. I consider that quite risky, because if you get a leak, it can suddenly come in and flow in quite quickly. You can go down like 20-30 metres in these things, that's a hell of a lot of water to come in. Well, then they should dig down, right, put the column up, build up and up and up, and then take these out. The caisson is a bit like that, right? You could say it's like a vessel. I don't know if it's open at both ends. They pump it full of oxygen, pump it full of air, which creates enough pressure to stop the fluid going in. Right? Okay. I've never had a lot to do with them. Apparently it works on things like that. But as you can imagine, if you're in there, yeah, there's risk of, or specified risk arising of sudden inrush of water, you won't be able to breathe. Therefore it's a confined space. Right. Turn over the page, you can see Alex there on his confined space course. On page 337. Did you do all this? Yeah. It's high risk, so again we're going to have a very thorough risk assessment carried out, aren't we? Okay. Done by a competent person. What they will say is, if you're going to work in confined space, you should have this confined space training. This training will say, avoid it. Why work in a confined space unless you have to? If you have to, set up the tripod, lower in the gas monitor. It tests the atmosphere. If the atmosphere is okay, go in. If the computer says no, don't go in.
Maybe one bottle of gas, and harness. One bottle of gas.
So,
You know,
what, for,
radio.
you mean oxygen?
Yes.
Yeah, for breathing. So you go
Just
in,
in case of risking.
yeah, so you go in with your RPE, your respiratory protective equipment, your breathing
All the time
equipment.
to be contact with your supervisor from top has to be on top one top man, and from top you're gonna have a look, like every 2 minutes you ask him if it's alright or not, and if you feel weird.
Okay, so you're wearing the gas monitors.
Yes.
They measure the amount of oxygen in the
And
air.
on him has to be that gas
Just come and sit out front.
Sorry.
Come on, no, you're right. No, just come and sit out front and tell him. Right, so you've got on this training course. It's quite right. What it's telling you is set up, test the atmosphere first. It's the most important thing. There was an incident in Mile End, not too far away, and reactive team on a weekend. Neighbourhood smelling odd smells. They went there, looked at the manhole. First one went, it was two brothers and a colleague. First brother went in, collapsed at the bottom of the manhole. His brother dashes down to help him, collapsed. The colleague is like 999. Because 999, they came out, apparatus on, pulled them out, they're already dead. They said the gas was so toxic, it killed them as soon as they were in there. You'd have been next had you gone in the off. This was in the days when 999 turned out to confined spaces. They don't now. You have to take care of it yourself.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. You have to have a rescue plan in place. If that goes wrong, you've shown that you try to protect against it. You can still phone 999. It's an emergency. But what I mean is, yeah, they are not on call for confined spaces operations. Okay. So, as part of your training, you have tested the atmosphere. What you then do, you have the right equipment to enter. So if it says okay, you go in using the breathing apparatus. You'll have a monitor on. That records the amount of oxygen in the air. How much oxygen have we got in the air around us? Between 20 and 21%.
20.5.
Yeah, between 20 and 21. Alright. Right. It's about 20 point something. Alright. Okay, if it drops down to 19%, these alarms start ringing. Okay. You'd be surprised if it drops down to 10%, right? You'd be struggling to move. Okay, 6% is probably going to kill you. So when it drops below 19, these things start bleeping. What are you going to do? Get out. If you're in difficulty, you've had the regular communication with the person at the top. Eleanor, really sorry, they call it a top man still. Alright? They don't say a top person, they still call it the top man. Yeah. So you have to have a person outside. Regular communication, because if there's any difficulty, they can then initiate the rescue plan, which should be someone independent that can come in and get you out. Alright? It's not like 999 are going to go, oh, we ain't touching it, it's confined space. Alright? If all else fails, 999, but you have to have a rescue plan in place. 28, environmental management. We'll assess anything on this. Probably along the lines of what to do in spillage. Common question. I can't remember really. I think I mentioned it earlier on. The kind of things, you know, if you've got chemicals, if you've got spillages around site, what you need to do really is you need to stop them getting into the water courses. You need to stop them getting into drains. Because if they go into drains, they've now entered the system. Okay, that system ends up flowing out into rivers and waterways. Okay? Which means that pollutant you've just allowed to escape is going to get out into the water courses. So what you want to make sure is wherever you have any dangerous fluids, they're stored correctly. You only have like protective barriers around, like fuel sources, yeah, bundings. Okay, if there is a leak, you normally have drip trays. If there's a leak substantial that's going to overflow that, you normally have an area that's protected. Okay, and you have like their barriers all the way around them. So if there is a spillage, then it can come out so far and it's prevented going any further. Right, what's the time? Half 12 was
That would do any of the waste money, the applicants in Devonshire Street work.
No, never touched the street work. Right. Paperwork I gave you yesterday. Have you all completed them on the 2 forms?